Welcome back, everybody. It is February of 2023, and this is episode 50 of What is on My Desk. So here we are, we're back for another one of my monthly build updates. New stuff going on the desk, where the models are at, all that fun stuff, and just some general information for the channel. So we've got some progress. I didn't get quite a bit of time. I got a little bit of time to work on stuff, but I managed to squeeze in some time, and progress was good. As always, it's winter, work's been busy, snow. I think we've had north of 2 meters of snow so far this year, about 90 centimeters in December, and so far 80 some centimeters now in January. So we're close to 2 meters of snow so far this year. So it's been busy at work with that. So trying to fit all that in, it's not as easy, but I've definitely had a little bit of time. So we'll get swung over here in a second. We'll take a look at the progress. I don't have any new kits to show you. I don't have any new products to show you. I have hopefully something coming in for next month's update. We'll see if it gets here in time. Yeah, before we get too far in this, my name is Sean. I need a haircut, and this is Sean's Aviation. Now, just before we do jump over and take a look at everything, I do want to thank everybody out there who is watching this video and this channel. Now, if you haven't yet and you do enjoy what you're seeing here, please go down below, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. The likes, the subscribes, that will help basically the analytics figure out who likes this channel and recommend this channel to other people with similar interests to those who are now watching it. Notification bell will just let you guys know when I release a new video. I usually release 4, maybe 5 a month, depending on what is happening and what I get out in content. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's a little less. I aim for 4 a month. That is my plan. Now, if there's anybody out there who really wants to help out in a bit more of a concrete way and wants to help contribute with a bit of money, you'll see down below there is a link to my coffee account. Now, I almost always have the coffee on the go. I do have one going now. I always appreciate someone who does offer to buy me a coffee, but please don't feel obligated to buy me a coffee. I have my own. And I'm not out here begging for money. I do what I do here for fun. I enjoy doing it. And I just like bringing you guys along for the ride while I get to have all of this fun on my own. But again, there are significant costs, especially traveling to air shows and stuff like that. And I do plan to be doing a bit more traveling and a bit more expanding the videos just outside of me sitting at this desk and talking to a camera. I'd like to get out and do some on-site filming. So, every little bit helps. Please don't feel obligated. But if you are out there and you do want to help out, by all means, click that link and we'll see where this ends up going. On that note, let's get swung over. Let's take a look at that desk and let's see what's going on. So it's time to take a look at the progress on the models. So we'll start with the Spitfire, and I've got some pretty good progress on it. It is effectively assembled. The major components are together. Fuselage is glued together. I got these ports filled. I've got the forward piece on, kind of the fuel tank cover. It's a bit of a pain. The seams were significantly wider than I expected them to be. And up in here, there's all these little Zeus fasteners, and it's really hard to get that seam clean without destroying that Zeus fastener detail. So as much as I like that idea of not having the seam down the middle, overall, it's a really weird arrangement. Makes it very difficult to get a clean seam. I guess that's just the nature of the beast of the Spitfire. You're either destroying the fuel cap at the top, or you're destroying some of this detail on the side. But we'll see. Once I get a coat of primer on it, we'll see. I've still got a bit of work to get there. I got the horizontal stabs to go on. I'm not going to put the elevators or the rudder on until after I get the Alclad painted. But at this point, I got to put the upper wings on, the elevators on. I've got the valve cover humps on this forward, cowling to go on, the underwing radiators, and the carb intake. And then at that point, I'm basically going to be ready for, well, I guess I got to do the leading edge bits and the wingtips and all that stuff. But I'm getting close, a couple more steps, and then I can start kind of masking off the cockpit and getting this prepped for a coat of primer. And then from there, I'll be able to go through and touch up some of the issues. And there are going to be a few issues on this. As much as I love Airfix's fit, there are some problems, and I can see them coming at me, and it's going to be interesting how I'm going to manage them, considering I do want to do an alclad paint scheme on this. I need to make sure the surface is very clean. The wings, this is actually the first time I'm test fitting the wings after gluing the lower wing to the fuselage. So we'll see. Yeah, the fit isn't bad. I got a little bit of a sprue nub there I got to clean off, and that'll help that wing seat quite nicely, but that's actually not too bad. Another one there. So I got to clean up this mating surface, and I can probably get that to sit quite nicely, to be perfectly honest. Won't be much of a seam there at all. Other wing, I'm hoping, is about the same. Yeah, the other wing fits nicely. You can see there just a little bit of sanding on that surface joint. Again, I got a bit of a nub sitting there. You'll see that wing will just slot in nice and tight, and there won't be much seam there at all when it's all said and done. So that's good. The wings up here shouldn't be an issue. This might fight me a bit. Back here went together very nicely. Just a little bit more sanding and all of that should clean up nicely. My big issue, and the one I already know is going to cause me a lot of issues because I've test fit it and it looks horrible, is this carb intake underneath. Not only, I'll zoom in here and show you, not only do I have issues, something to point with, not only do I have issues here, huge massive seam here, huge massive seam there, which you can look in and see. I've got to figure out how to fill that. This outside seam isn't much of an issue. That should actually come off pretty nicely with a bit of sanding. But down inside, that's going to be a mess to clean up properly, and I just don't understand why it's so bad. So a little bit of work needs to be done on that. And then when you put this in place, it just, the fit is horrible. I mean, I know in the real one, this is a removable piece, just like it is on this model. This is basically how it is on the real plane. It's a separate piece that fits on to the lower cowling and on the intake. But, I mean, no matter how you slice it, that fit is brutal. I mean, I might just have to live with it because I can't really get in there and clean any of that up with all the detail. I am going to definitely have to clean up the opening here, fill this in a little bit, sand it down, try to clean up all of that, because that just looks, I keep forgetting that I've zoomed in and you guys can't see what I'm talking about. But yeah, looking down inside, this just looks horrible. So I really got to clean up this inside bit. These seams around here aren't horrible. This I don't like, but I don't think there's any way, as I mentioned, that I can get in there and actually clean that in any meaningful way. So I might just have to live with that. We'll see. Anyway, so I got a bit of work to clean up on that, and then I got to deal with that. I also made up the slipper tank. Now, you'll see this if you watch the time-lapse video, I came up with the plan. I went out and bought some magnets. I ordered magnets on Amazon. They're these little 1 mil deep circular magnets. So I glued one on the inside of the bottom of the wing, glued one to the slipper tank, and I'll literally be able to just magnetize that on. So the slipper tank can be removable. It does not come off. It has a little bit of wobble to it, but I mean, once it's in place and sitting on the ground, I can take it off and have it display without it. I can put it on if I feel like it. I do have historical photos of the aircraft I'm building with the slipper tank installed, so that gives me that option. I can decide how I want to present the model. So I am doing that. So right now, I mean, everything looks okay until I get a coat of primer on it. The upper wing should go on okay. The wing tips, these inserts in the wing, we'll see. I might need to do a bit of puttying and sanding on that. Luckily, there isn't too much detail to destroy around that if I clean it up nicely. This is going to bother me. I really need to get this opening finished. We'll see how these go on, how many gaps are on the edge. I'm hoping I can fill that just with liquid glue, and a bit of primer will solve it. So a couple of more steps, get this all assembled, get this cockpit masked off. I'm going to have to do that carefully because part of it around is going to be alclad, and the rest isn't. So I'll probably put the forward canopy on, mask it off, paint the Alclad, and then paint over that with the blue color that I'm doing. So we'll see how that goes a little later. Anyways, yeah, it's coming along. It's a lot of finicky little corners I got to deal with, but we're at a good place here. I just got to work on some sanding, some cleaning up, some seam work, and a good coat of primer. Moving on to the A26C, that's the monogram version that I'm doing, the glass nosed. Here is how it is. It's not actually glued together. I just leave it together to store all the parts. But the interiors are done, black washed, dry brushed, flat coated. I've glued the two halves of the cockpit, the rear bulkhead to the forward half of the cockpit already, so that's done. Bomb's been painted and installed. And then all the other little bits are here. The next step on this is literally just assembling the fuselage, going through and assembling everything, you know, as it belongs. So you can start to see the, like that. You can start to see the final look of what all of this is going to look like. It's going to look good. I am very impressed with this kit, to be perfectly honest, considering it's an old monogram, 93, one of the later monogram boxings they did. So the detail's definitely up there. But yeah, like it's a very nice looking, you know, cockpit when it's all said and done. So that's where that stands. So starting to get ready to start assembling all of this and then get the fuselage buttoned up. And then there's going to be quite a bit of seam work to do. I can already see there's a bit of a twist to the fuselage. So when you have the forward half of the fuselage assembled and lined up, it's very difficult, and I don't want to knock these bombs out. But yeah, when you get the forward half kind of done, this tail splays open, so it's going to have to be a slow process of working down the fuselage. And then there's all of these seams down the middle, but there's all these raised panel lines, which are just going to get destroyed when I do my seam work. So it's going to be a little bit of a battle getting this all together. Then there's the nose gear I got to go through and clean up. And again, try not to destroy too much of this raised detail, but some of it will get destroyed as I go through, and I just knocked a bomb out. Yeah, man. Anyways, quite a bit of work still to do on this. It's starting to get finicky, and I don't like finicky. But once I get this fuselage glued together and I can start to focus on the seams, it should start to get a little bit better. So we are slowly getting there. I got the lower wings taken off. I've drilled out all the holes for the rockets. I'm using the rockets from the B model on the C model because this was a Korean War version and it would have had the rockets under the wings. I've also got, I got the right side here. No, I got the wrong one. Cowlings, as I've probably seen before, I've got the cowlings assembled already. I put the forward piece on, trying to blend some of the seam. It's some pretty bad seams in here. Again, I'm probably gonna have to get the wings assembled, get these glued to the wings, get the whole wing coated in a coat of primer, and then I can go back and start puttying and cleaning all of this up and working on all of this as one whole piece versus just little bits at a time. And then I can start to blend it all, clean it all up. And then I've got a coat of primer on it to give me a good visual cue of what I need to do next. So that's my plan with the wings. So the next kind of 2 steps are going to be getting the fuselage assembled, getting all the wings assembled as a unit, and then going through and cleaning up and puttying and sanding and everything else as needed. With that, I am just going to quickly glue this bomb back on because I want to assemble. As I stated, I've been holding the fuselage together. 1, to save a bit of space on the desk, and 2, it protects all of these little bits and pieces on the inside. So it's a lot harder to knock the bomb out if the fuselage is assembled. So I have been storing it. I just slide the cockpit in. Like that. And then I can just keep the fuselage together, protects the bombs, and it takes up a lot less space on the shelf. Props, I've got the tips painted yellow. I had to do the yellow on the bomb, so I went ahead and painted the prop tips yellow as well. I'll mask these off and then paint the props themselves black and then do the hub detail afterwards. So that's on the list to be done at some point. That was just a jump ahead kind of process. Onto the B model. This is the gun nose, the Revell. It's the same mold. It's just reboxed and released by Revell. It's effectively at the same place as the C model. Fuselage is assembled. All the cockpit pieces are painted, weathered, dry brushed, sealed. This one also has the wheel bomb bay door closed, but the wheel bay is open. So I did not install the bombs, as you will not see them on this kit. And I've got the wheel wells weathered up quite nicely. This one will be painted in Alclad as well. So it's going to take quite a bit of work in here to clean up some of these seams and polish and get this all prepped for some Alclad. But I'll deal with that a little later when I get this all glued together. But yeah, so this one's going to take a bit of work, as it is Alclad. The seams will have to be kind of cleaned up nice. I'm not going to worry too much about the panel lines. I'm just going to have to live with whatever I end up getting. The rest of the interior bits, again, same stage as what I was at with the C model. Cowlings, they have the bomb bay, the wheel bays, I should say, exposed, painted, weathered, flat coated, so they're done. I can just mask off, stuff some Kleenex down in there, mask off with some masking tape, and then go ahead and paint the Alclad. After the fact, I did not glue the front half on yet. I will, kind of the same stage as when I'm doing that. I'll get the wings, I'll get these glued on, I'll get these glued on to the wings, and then I'll go ahead and start puttying and sanding everything all at the same time as a unit instead of individually, where it's very easy to, try to fix a seam and then you assemble everything to the wing and realize the seam you just fixed actually it was the backwards fix. Fixing the seam one way caused an issue with the other one. So I'd rather assemble everything as a unit, and then I can kind of fix everything together. If I'm repairing this seam, well, I might have to do this seam while this seam or with that seam, and it's easier to do it all as one solid unit. So that's where I am with that. Prop tips, again, I painted them yellow. I'll be masking those off soon to do the props black. Moving on to the K. It has also been painted. I did it last as the interior of this was painted black. It's a dark gray effectively. I lightened the black a little bit, and that allows sort of the pin wash to settle into the corners, and you get the shadows, you get darker corners, and then a light gray or a dark gray base color, and then a light gray on the dry brushing, and you get this depth and layer to the color. So there's the cockpit floor. I can zoom in just a little bit so you get a good look at that. But yeah, so that's the cockpit tub. There's the insides of the fuselage. Wheel wells were painted up in the green color, but you can start to see, when you slide all that together, what kind of look you're going to get there inside the fuselage. Put the instrument panel in place as well. You can start to really kind of see what that's going to look like all assembled. This instrument panel was done with a decal as well, so there's quite a bit of detail on that. So it's really looking good. Those variations in color really give a depth and a realism to it that you don't normally see. So that's why I went with that. The rest of the pieces are all in here. All of the rear, the seats, the instrument panel, all the rear pieces, everything's here. It's all ready to go. Bomb bay doors, I started painting and then I actually ran out of the color. This was the last things I was gonna do. So I'm gonna finish these up a little later when I do the outside, because the bottom of this is gonna be painted black, and it's gonna be very similar to what I'm doing here. It's gonna be a lightened black or a very dark gray. So I figure whenever I paint the outsides, I can just paint the insides at the same time, and then I'll weather the insides the same as the inside of here, but the outside will be weathered a little differently, and it'll vary the color enough that you won't notice it's the same shade of base dark gray black. I wasn't gonna mix up a new color just to paint that. It was gonna be a waste of time and paint. So that's where we stand on that. So all things considered, we are moving along pretty good. Oh, K cowlings are also done. Interior green has been painted, weathered, flat coated, the whole 9 yards. So these are ready to start being assembled to the wings. I'm kind of focusing on the monogram ones right now, just because I know there's going to be a lot of work with that, a lot of seam filling, a lot of cleanup, a lot of detail work. Same with the Spitfire. I'm very hopeful that the K will more or less just, so far anyways, it's just dropped together. There's been very little seam work needed. Everything is pretty good. So I'm hoping I'll spend a lot of my effort getting the monogram ones done up, and then this will just kind of fall together. And yeah, so Plus, I'm learning, right? These are, one's monogram, one's Revell, but it's the same mold. So if I'm learning one on one, I'm almost immediately going to do the same thing on the other one, so I don't forget the trick or I don't lose it. So I'm slow. And then little things like this one's going to have the wheels down, so I'm going to have to assemble everything, basically get it sitting on its wheels, and then figure out how much weight to put in the nose so it doesn't tail sit. So I have to figure that out as well, but I can't do that until I get the wings assembled and the tail on, you know, and then get it on its landing gear even just temporarily, and then I can load the nose with weight, tape it on, and I really want to make sure it's a nose sitter. I don't want any chance of a tail sitting on me after the fact. So all of that I got to worry about. So I'm just slowly poking away. So that being said, that's basically it. There was no new kits to show you, no new products to show you really. Everything's been just plugging along. We've had tons and tons of snow this month, so I've been pretty busy with the snow removal and stuff. But yeah, so at this point I want to wrap it up. I'm hopeful next month we'll see some significant progress on this, maybe even, you know, some assembled fuselages and possibly some primer. So that's always good. So yeah, at this point, you know, I want to wrap it up. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.